Hello, friends. I'm excited to talk. Today, I'm going to do a series of videos that support the videos that I put out last week, talking about getting kids ready for the big game for summer. Like right now, we're going to be doing the practice that we want students to be doing on the habits and the behaviors that we want to see them doing as a reader and writer so that they continue to have high volumes of reading and high volumes of writing all summer long. So one of the questions that was asked of me was, what is a habit of a reader and a habit of a writer? And then like, what do I do with that? So that's what these videos this week are going to be about. I'll be doing 4 videos to just kind of help you think through that. And please know that when I do these videos, it's not like an exhaustive list. There are other things that you can add to it, and I would love to hear like how to make it better for you. But I just want to give you some things that you could start thinking about to get you started. So let's visit the habits of a reader. One of the things that I think is really important when I think about habits of a reader is making a plan. So I talked a little bit about that last in other videos, and I've talked about that in the past. So one of the things that you can do, depending on the age group. So if you're talking about the littles who have like book baggies with lots of like shorter books, they could make a plan like, I'm going to read this many minutes, I'm going to read this many books, I'm going to read, I'm going to put them in the stack in an order of how I want to read those books. So that could be a plan that they're going to make. I could see as kids get older, something that I do is I call like, I'm calling my shot. I'm going to read 30 books in the month of April of 2021. So I'm going to have 2 professional books. I'm going to have a personal book, and then I'm going to have lots of young adult, shorter chapter books, and some picture books. So my goal is I'm going to make it public. So that's my plan for reading this year or this month, not this year. Something that I think about is when I read a harder book, and this is something you could talk to students about, is then I read a little bit and I need to kind of step away and read something that's going to be a little easier. Maybe if it's really difficult to read as far as like the content, maybe you need a lighthearted book or something that is just for enjoyment purposes fully. So like that's part of my plan. Those are things that you need to teach your kids. When I talk about making a plan, teach them about that and teach them like in making a plan, what do I do when I run out of books? Like what else, where else can I find books? How can I get more suggestions or recommendations for books? The second thing is like, if they have their plan, finding their reading spot so that they can just get ready to get going as a reader. So if it's cold outside and I'm not going to be outside reading because I love to go outside and read and sit in the sun and have like some snacks and just get really comfy and have my book and just sit out there and read. If I'm in the house, like I have a certain chair that I like to read in and I wrap up in my blanket. I have my hot tea with me or my coffee and I know my reading spot. So something you can do to help kids with that is you could talk about your reading spot. Kids could take pictures of their reading spots at home. They could take a picture of a reading spot and outside and inside. And you could share that. I've done that before. We shared on a Padlet or on a Jamboard or through like Seesaw, or they could just bring a picture, or they could draw it, whatever you want, but just like have them think through, where's my reading spot? You need to make sure another habit of a reader is that they have lots of books to read, lots of books to have access to that are engaging, that they've chosen. So when I think about some of our younger students, I do try to make sure that they have some of their books within some sort of levels close by so that they can practice some things that are going to just help them get better. But really, choice books are really important. So they might have some books that are a little difficult and some that are easier, but they want to read those books. Think about too, like, um, I listen to books on tape. So I read high volumes. I'm a high volume reader, so I read a lot. But one of the ways that I read is I also listen to books, and that is absolutely appropriate. And think about like your kids who maybe struggle reading the words, but really would enjoy the text and would love the conversations. Make sure that they have access to that, to audiobooks, and teach them how to have access to those things. So when they have books to read, we want them to read with high volumes and to be engaged. We want to teach them that the habit of a reader too is to stay focused. So when I'm in a book that I just really want to read that has a beautiful story or just a really fun story, like I can't even get my nose out of the book, right? Teach the kids that sometimes they're going to have some books that are a little bit tough, or a lot of it tough. And you have to stay focused. So maybe they make a plan that they're going to read a chapter, just jot some thoughts on a note and just set that book away and then do a different book. But we have to teach them how to like build their stamina so they can read for longer periods of time. Also, other habits of a reader are they talk about books. So they have people that they're talking about books with. How can we be talking about books? Well, we talk about books in our classrooms. We make recommendations. If kids share their books publicly that they're reading, they could do book review. They could do a book talk. They could do a book review that you could do that, have kids make videos, and maybe on your Learning Commons or your library websites, they would host kids like book reviews, their videos there. That would be a really fun thing to do. Or maybe you could have a class YouTube page that you have kids doing reviews of books, and parents are okay with their kids sharing that on, and you add that to YouTube, and kids know in the summer they can come to your YouTube page and get all kinds of just like book reviews from their friends. They could connect. We've done a lot lately with virtual learning, so the kids are pretty comfortable. Maybe they could start their own little book clubs and they could be talking about books with their friends, or they could be talking about books with their families, or they could start their own little book clubs and talk about books in their neighborhoods or their apartments. Lots of different things that can happen. And then other habits of a reader are they set goals. So they can set goals around like the number of books that they want to read. So that's something they could set goals around. And I've seen students like set stamina, like minutes or pages that they want to read goals, and then to keep track of that. So these are some of the habits of a reader, but you also, finally, I just want to remind you to teach kids what to do when I get stuck. So we talked about that last time. One of the things that we talked about was like, what tools do I have? So what do I have available to me that's going to be helpful? What are some things I've tried in the past? Who could I ask? And so that would be another thing that would be really helpful when it's like, think about who's going to be in your summer learning book club, or people that could be accessible to help you when you get stuck. So I hope that you found this short video on habits of a reader helpful, and know that these are just some really, some of the habits. There are other habits as well, but these are big ones you want to teach into to get kids ready for the independence and the transference that they'll be doing all summer long. Have a great day.